Welcome back, duelists. Today we continue with dueling on a discount. Not too long ago, I shared with you guys my solution to playing this extremely expensive format and still keep up at the utmost competitive level. I showed you guys my Fire King deck that could still very much play like a normal Fire King deck, but made concessions where you could in order to keep the deck to a relatively cheap price point of under $100 if you're playing with staples you already have, or only around 140 if you need to buy the staples from scratch. And the result is an incredibly cohesive and strong deck that I'm excited to show off today, as we are following up that video with a trek to locals, as well as I will be providing commentary over the matches to give you guys my insights as for each play that I made, so you can kind of see what was going through my head, as well as if I made any mistakes, I can point them out to you guys. Alright, now before we head over to the tournament, if you guys enjoy this series where I constantly try and find new cheap options for duels to play with, then let me know. Like, subscribe, as well as comment what you want to see in the future for this series, whether it be specific decks or if it's elements to segments that could be improved upon. I welcome all feedback, so let me know. But with that said, let's move on to locals. Alright, so for today's locals, we went to New Realm Games. And this Thursday night locals is a locals that goes for Swiss rounds until only one XO is left. Now, I will let you know that this tournament ended up with a draw early on for one player, and then the XO got paired down and lost. So we only got to play 3 rounds in this tournament, which is not much for locals, to be honest. And either way, above all else, doesn't matter what happens, I just want to show you guys how the Fire King deck goes in action. Alright, for round 1, I am fortunate enough to walk away with the die roll victory. And I am playing a Snake Eye deck, so going first is pretty good. Now this deck is very, very comfortable going second, so you shouldn't feel too bad about losing die rolls. That being said, I'll take advantage. Now at this point, I start off with the Bonfire and I grab a Snake Eyes Poplar. While Snake Eyes Ash is theoretically the more powerful normal summon, using Bonfire for Poplar as an extender is one of the absolute most powerful things you can do. This typical play pattern plays through hand traps because it eats Veilers and stuff very effectively, while still developing a body and without using a normal summon. And as you can see, I already have a normal summon in Ponic, so like if this gets Veiler now, I still have original to keep playing with and do Snake Eye stuff with, and yeah, I mean, it's just very, very good. But it resolves, so I get to go Island. And now I went to Island to get the Fire King cards into rotation before anything else. I figure if I can get the Fire King cards into rotation here immediately, I can set up a Photon Lord Negate, which will check for a potential Nibiru, and then I can just do Snake Eye stuff. So I grab Garunix here, summon the Garunix out, as well as by putting Volcanics in the grave. The Volcanics will then be a way of getting Kieran. So pop the Volcanics, so this is why just having 1 versus 0 Volcanics makes a huge difference in the deck. This entire line would not be conceivable without Volcanics. It's just so good. The card is brilliant. I love it, and it makes I'm just babbling on about my love for Volcanics, but yeah. Anyways, Photon Lord here will protect around Nib now, and I think about the best way of going about this. Make Anima here, putting the Pop and Spell Trap Guard zone. Imagining I'll just send away for a Snake Eyes Oak and then revive. I think this is a mistake though, because I end up having to sack the Anima for Oak regardless. So this is actually just a waste of the Anima, and it's something that a lot of players do. It's stupid. This is what happens when you have lack of foresight, and it's my entirely own fault, because what I could have done is gone send off the Poplar for original, place Oak to revive the Poplar, and then Poplar place Volcanics, and then Oak send off the Volcanics, get Flameburge, and it accomplishes the exact same thing without using Anima, which, while I don't need it, it's burning a resource, so obviously no need to do that. Now here I place the Flameburge now because I don't plan on having it on my field by the end of the turn, which is pretty normal with when you're Princess reviving Volcanics, because usually you're going to be reviving the Flameburge in Pure Snake decks. Again, now I'm going for here. So instead I go for Volcanics to pop the Poplar, and then I get to search Kieran. So I'm going to end on Kieran, Whale, and Photon Lord, which is a lot of disruption, as well as I have hand traps in hand. Super, super powerful. Honestly, no deck should really beat this going second. They didn't have any hand traps, so I don't know how much breakers can really help them. At this point, though, I still don't know what my opponent's playing, so it will be kind of playing by ear to see what we need to stop. Opponent starts off with Imperm on the Goblin Biker, which is important because it kind of gives away that his hand may be weak to monster negation. So if I can get Arvada online early, it could be pretty impactful. He activates the Goblin Biker spell that adds 1 and then detaches a special summon. It's essentially emergency teleport because I have an XYZ, so I slam an Ash down saying, nope, I'm good, don't want to deal with this. Typically, you want to use your public negates and interruptions before your hidden ones, but I had no other way of interacting with it, so it's worth it. They draw 2 with talents, which is a sign of desperation. They could have tried to steal the whale, but I mean, yeah. Normal summon Clattersploder, which does nothing. It's special from Grave, but that doesn't matter obviously in this position. ETL gets a second level 3 on the field, and this is super vulnerable here. It's kind of apparent they have nothing. The only card that would do anything would be Doug Charger. At this point, I have Effect Veiler in my hand, so I'm just going to kind of rip apart this rank 3 here. First one, put the Grunix in Grave. That way I can Kieran pretty safely. He's confused for a second, like, well, it's already negated, but I'm obviously just paying the cost. Then I back up the Veiler because this is a great way of interacting with this card. If they try to go battle phase, I will have to pop it though because it threatens Zeus, and Zeus is kind of annoying versus my deck. So I just get to go Kieran. Arguably, I'm supposed to do this before he summons the rank 3 to hold the Veiler in hand. I just felt like it could be safer to do this way. In retrospect, I don't know what I'm trying to play around. I like holding the Kieran as long as possible, but I think holding the Veiler was probably better. I didn't really need to use it. The biggest thing was putting the Grunix in Grave, but it made me kind of awkwardly handle this, truthfully. But still, now I get to SP, and then I get to dump from deck to Grave. The Arvada to bring back, banish that out. And I still have the rank 8 lined up here. I still have the Princess in Grave as well. You can see the layers are like really, really hard to interact with. Because even though that field may seem like all I have left is SP, it's like not even close to the truth. Alright, so we go to game 2, and I know it's Goblin Bikers. So I actually don't have a side deck for this tournament, and that's not out of me trying to do a challenge to myself. Partially it's to show you guys this deck's main deck is very all well-rounded, so it's not going to have any single thing it should be weak against. But also, low-key, I was running late after streaming to locals, and I had to rush. So we just didn't build a side deck, and we said, fuck it. No side deck, we'll be just fine. Alright, so game number 2 starts, and my opponent leads with a normal summon of Takatamborg. This mainly tells me his hand is weak. Summoning Psychic Wielder does extremely little, so he summons the Goblin here, a Veiler it. The only extender I expect is the potential continuous spell. Not continuous spell, the search spell. He goes draw 2, and I'm like, alright, well, I have to ash that, because obviously he doesn't have the spell, and he passes. So not a very exciting match, but this deck plays a lot of hand traps, a lot of non-engine for a reason, right? They're good. Normal Ponix doesn't interact, and I just want to develop a board here so that way I don't lose to Nib. Photon Lord can be very good at beating Nib. Before it used to be put Arvada into circulation, but it's just not as simple now. I think about if I want to start playing with the cards in my hand before this, I think I have a Wanted or a Witch in hand to kind of extend. But I figured let me play around hand traps making Photon Lord, and then call it there. I already had Grunix in hand, so I actually can go or put the Arvada in circulation by using the Grunix to send Arvada instead of Volcanics. I already had Grunix there, so I had Kieran. Simple. And then I get to use Grunix to pop, send Arvata, revive. I already have a Kieran in hand, so I'm chilling in that regard. So the biggest things I'm thinking about here is if the other way of playing this is to make a rank 8 Grunix and then pop it with Kieran, because then it gets to revive 2 cards. Because that play is not bad at all. Or I can go like the rank 8, attempt to pop the field spell, and then use Sanctuary to protect it. Now, he bells Arvada, so I have to rethink about how I'm going about this. I use Kieran to try and make Photon Lord, as I said. So I overlay the 2 for Photon Lord, cover around any hand traps. So hopefully this is good enough. I'm not sure how many cards he had left. Maybe it was just 1. I think if it's just 1, then there's no cards left to beat me. So the one problem with Photon Lord and Arvada, it's a 1 card in hand, is before it was kind of guaranteed victory. Hit a card on field. Now Impulse can actually beat you. This deck won't play Impulse because there's a lot of cards that Impulse would stop. But like I've lost before with a Callby in my hand and like a Snake Eyes Ash to their like dead card on field, so they can't imperm me. And then 1 in hand, and then I go for the play and get Impulse, and I just can't do anything with the Callby. So something to keep out in mind when you're playing around stuff. It's a little more complex now than it was, say, a little bit ago. But yeah, this is Snake Eyes OTK. I'm just leveling up the bodies. I push back the monster, so he's still locked under Imperm. You know, I don't know why he'd hold Imperm, but I figure it's worth playing around it. It costs me literally 0. And here I can just go for the Selena Access Code line, which is super easy. Because I do have the Witch and Grave. And then Access Code. And so Access Code plus the Photon Lord is just short a game. But with the Oak, it is lethal. So, yep. Snake Eyes are good. You don't need Zelantis. You don't need other stuff. very swift 2-0. Goblin Biker is a fun deck as well, and it's a deck I want to show on this channel, but it is strictly a tier below Fire King, even a budget Fire King deck, and it was not close. All right, so we are on to round number 2, and we are 1-0 in the tournament. So as I said, it's a 3-round tournament, and we're 2 rounds away from victory. I win the roll. I know it's Tempai, but I want to show you guys a biased perspective where I choose to go second knowing it's Tempai. While that you could still learn from that, I want to show you guys how you'd play blind, because that's really how you learn, not by like this premeditated stuff. But for the sake of video, yeah, I chose to still go first, even though it's Tempai, manning all the charm, using the shifters. That being said, like there are times to go first versus Tempai in many decks. Without a Fucho in my deck, without a side deck, I'm pretty much going second by choice. This is the case. And the draw phase, I hit with a Purulia. Ironically, Purulia is actually typically a bigger hindrance to this deck than Fuelos. And one of the ways to bypass Purulia is Deception, because you can tribute Garunix out of your hand and do a delayed trigger on it. Like, you can add it off Volcanics, not trigger it there, tribute it, and then revive it later when you pop off Island. But it's a way of mitigating draws if your hand is enough engine. That being said, easier said than done, as well as with this case, I don't have Deceptions in the budget version, so Purulia does hurt. So I'm thinking about the best way to approach this. I go Wanted. I figure I'll get into Black Witch. It sucks that this gets a draw immediately. I think my hand was... recall. My hand was double Bonfire, double Talons. Oh, right, okay. So this is the weird one. You play into an element here that I like to call Schrodinger's Trap, whatever, but in reality, it's just hidden information and variables within the game. Whatever I discard off of the Witch here gives my opponent information. If I discard Bonfire, it probably gives them the info I have a second one. If I discard Talents, it probably gives them the info I have a second one as well. And unfortunately, there isn't a way around it. Either play I make will reveal information. So for one, I can control the flow of information to my opponent. So this is a hard choice here, because while in reality, neither card will make a meaningful difference to how my turn plays out in the sense of my capabilities, it'll impact my opponent's ability to interact with me. So I decide to hopefully have a hand that loses to Imperm, trying to bait Imperm out by going Witch first, discarding a Talents, showing that I have a second Talents in hand. And then that would leave only 2 unknowns left. This would hopefully lead them to Imperm immediately, and then Bonfire can resolve. Now, you could argue that even if you don't have 2 Talents, it's okay to send one if the rest of your cards are good, because it kind of gives this read to your opponent. That is an example of a higher level play that you may do in tournaments to throw your opponent's reads off. Controlling the information to give to your opponent is an extremely kind of nuanced skill in Yu-Gi-Oh! That is important to develop if you want to get to the top level. But with that said, let's get back into the actual game. So yeah, a Witch Ditch Talents, as I said, and then I'm going to use Witch to send and see what happens. And I see he does have Imperm here. I can't remember if he did Imperm it. He does Imperm it. And I'm like, okay, Imperm is gone, and I can Bonfire. Imperm on Witch matters a lot more, and specifically the budget version of the deck, because if they Imperm whenever I summon off original, you don't actually have anything else to do with Bonfire. You need to make sure that whatever I summon original resolves. That's the most important thing, because getting the Fire King cards is integral to both having a follow-up and surviving, while obviously limiting my opponent's summons. But I'm going to kind of be struggling with card economy either way here. I had Poplar because I don't want to give the extra draw of Snake Eye Ash. I'm not really worried about that. So summon Poplar, they get a draw, let's get the effects, and this one goes through, which is very important here. Now I followed up with the, I think Anima this time. So the reason I go Anima here and not before is I want to go, actually, I think here I'm making a decision. If I'm supposed to go for a Snake Eyes Ash into Onyx play, then what I do is I original without making Anima. But I think what I end up deciding here is the one draw for Snake Eye Ash to go into Flameburge is actually worth it. And as I'm reanalyzing this game now, I do agree with my assumption I make in the game. So if I recall correctly, it's that. Because what the Flameburge does is it does a couple things. For one, Flameburge is just a good card. It gets me bodies, and I'm not under food loss, so I can link up into better boards. As well as the Flameburge allows me to do is I can place his card in Spell Trap card zone. So why putting Purulia in Spell Trap card zone matters is for one, it plays around Lightning Storm, which is a breaker that could be happening as a Tempai player. It also beats the second copy of Impermanence. So after that point, if you want to have a hand trap, you'll have to use a monster effect or impulse. Impulse would suck. The monster effects I can interact with by then Talents looking at its hand at the end of the turn. And assuming I still have a meaningful board to end on, is what I'm going for. Now, this does leave me a little bit weaker to draw Blitz, but the reason why that doesn't matter as much is because he's getting extra cards anyways. The droplet should always have enough dead cards to discard anyways that it won't matter. As well, something that I didn't account for, but does matter now that I'm thinking about it, is if they draw into more Mole Charmies later on in the turn, like when I normal summon the Ponix, they cannot use it anymore. Which does actually matter, because the double Charmy is really rough. So yeah, I don't make Anima because my plan is to go Snake Eyes Ash here. Now the reason you go Poplar first, then Snake Eyes Ash, then Snake Eyes Ash and a Poplar, is give your opponent less chances to draw, Ash Blossom for the original off of their plays. So now I get Snake Eyes Ash back here, and then I get Ponix. When I normal summon the Ponix, it'll be the same amount of draws net as if I went to Ash and a Poplar, but it delays their draws, so it gives them less opportunity to do stuff. As well as the second draw here they get cannot be used under Imperm or Mole Charmy. So I'm going to put the Perulia back here into the pen zone, just in case, but it never really matters. Roll Ponix, he draws, and look, you can see here he actually drew into a second Mole Charmy. I think a Perulia. And that delayed use of my cards there makes a huge difference. It's important when you lose games as well to think if you could have ordered things differently and played in a better way, would have mitigated stuff. Oftentimes people say they lost, they didn't make a mistake, they just got sacked, and it's just not true. I'm sorry guys. Skill diff. I'll make mistakes too, I'm happy to admit it, and sometimes I don't see it. The hard part is seeing the mistakes, but be open to it. It's just a problem I see a lot of players trying to learn, and I'm trying to make a video that teaches players, but I'm talking too much and being too preachy. Move on. I got the Sanctuary, and I'm going into the Fire King cards here. So from this point, there will be one last draw for them. The island getting Garunix, and then from there. But after that, there's nothing else to worry about. So I can make, for all intents and purposes, a full field. So I'm going to be trying to Garunix into Volcanics, the other Garunix, and then revive Volcanics to set up the, Kieran, and then I can make IP, and then Whale. And I'll essentially have everything that I talked about me wanting. And talents will be dead, so I won't really have anything else, but it'll be okay. I think I have a wanted engrave here. I might have forgotten to have used. I'm looking back because I don't think I had any non-engine, which is just a mistake. As I said, I do make mistakes. Sometimes I make blunders. So that's not really a mistake. I call it blunder. Misplays for me are stuff where you had better options and you made the wrong choice because you made a bad read or you sequenced incorrectly. Blunders are when you just forget to use an effect. Just stupid. Stupid, like, mind farts. And I think those happen as well. Both happen. Yes, Sunly Wolf, add back the fire so that my Kieran will be live, which is, again, a huge trend I'm trying to hammer down. And then from here, I'm thinking what the best way to end on this is. Do I want to end on a rank 8? Because I can end on a rank 8. I can say revive. What I can do here is I can go Princess. And I can revive the Volcanics, pop the Princess, and then add Kieran, make it level 8, and make it the rank 8 with the Garunix and the Volcanics. But then, if I do that, I won't have the ability to go into Ambler Whale. Or I could do this and make the rank 8 this way, and the IP is Engrave. I go for that. I loses the Flame Merchant hand, which is some free bodies as well, but because I'm getting back the Ponix, I think it's okay. And Phase, he discards the card thinking that he has hand size limit, but that's only on his turn, so walks. He draws, and see how he can break my field. Remember, no Evenly, no Lightning Storm type shenanigans can come down here, which is important. I start off with Special Summon Fenrir, and this one's a bit awkward. It's not like the end of the world. You still need to focus on taking their Tempai cards, so even if this can cripple a bit of your interruptions, you shouldn't rush to deal with Fenrir. I don't want to use Princess here, because using Princess makes it really hard to go into, IP SP later. And then if you use Kieran here, then you get to go Fenrir, banish the Photon Lord, but it's just like so neg, so I hold off. You know someone's Pydra here, the glare there is a little awkward. Apologies for that. And I just negate that, figuring I don't want to get into saying time in, it would kind of just make it negligible. I expect the droplet to come down, it happens. And he has so much dead fodder that he's thinking about if it's worth getting the whale, and decides it's worth it because it doesn't matter, all his cards gonna suck. I don't think it makes a difference. It's Pydra Engrave, whatever, whale's negated. Now he gets to search, and we'll see if he wants Kaiman or the field spell. If he gets the field spell, then I will spring into action with my, my Fire King cards. Yeah, so he gets the field spell, and if he sets it, then we will pop it. If he adds it to hand, we'll wait a little longer, and then reactivates it. So I'm like, all right, time to Kieran it, and we're going to pop the whale. So now because the Photon Lord is used, there's not really a good target for him to Fenrir. He can Fenrir the Kieran to keep me off of rank 8s, or the Sanctuary is actually not bad as well. But it's not that good, is the thing. if he targets the IP, I just chain the IP. If he targets the Garunix, now I'll just put it back in the grave. So he's thinking here if he wants to use the Fenrir. Honestly, I think the best thing is just probably not using it or hitting Sanctuary. Here he uses it on the IP, and I'm like, yeah, sure, chain. I can just put the Post Lord on the grave now, and I get into SP. I get to dump from deck to grave, and this will be a full board clear now because the SP gets to banish, and the Kieran will pop as well. I don't care about his Fenrir because he's gonna summon another one. I know he has another one in hand, and it has no effect anymore, so I'm just big chilling. As well as, do I have anything to get off of this? I don't recall. I don't think the Kieran gets anything meaningful. It gets back Garunix. Why Garunix matters is once destroy battle specials from deck, so it can get our Vada, and just keeps up the floating a lot. So if they don't get to level 10 that negates monster effects, it can actually kind of wall up a bit, or it can make the rank A with it, which is kind of cool. But yeah, not important. At this point, I still have Princess, still have Whale, and I still have the SP. So it's not like I am short change for interruptions. Roku, we can special summon again Roku. I don't think he did this in the battle phase. I'm not sure why. I think it was because he wanted to summon, what's it called, Chandra, but I don't think it matters. I guess it's the same number of monsters either way. I make the rank 8 here, I'll lose the SP, I don't give a shit. If you change the Roku, whatever he summons dies. So I just blow everything up. I pop the Garunix so that next turn Garunix will come back and then kill everything and etc. Yeah, like if he summons that Fenrir, the Fenrir will banish the my Garunix XYZ. But I honestly have enough follow-up, but it doesn't really matter. If summons it and passes, and he just concedes. He's like, yeah, no, it's not going anywhere, because if there's one thing Fire King's really good at, it's on the next turn kind of popping back off and sealing the deal. On the summon of that Fenrir there, I could have Princessed and then revived everything, but you just don't need to. In case for whatever reason there was like a Monster Reborn type extender, I felt like I'd rather just hold the Princess. You need to assess like your loss condition. Like, what's the only way I lose this game? And the only way I lose that game from that point is something ridiculous like Monster Reborn. Anyways, going to game 2. No side deck for Stempai is kind of rough, but as you can see, it's not like a lost cause. All right, game number 2 starts, and my opponent decides to go first, going for a different approach than the last game. I look at my hand, and my hand was actually pretty solid if I recall. I remember having Ash, Ogre, and Imperm, I think, with Bonfire as well, which is like phenomenal, obviously. Someone's Fenrir, which concerns me because Fenrir in a grind game and a hand trap war is very good. I'm obviously not thrilled about that. And Fenrir grabbed Fenrir. Normal summoning the Pydra here and effect to search. I think if I want to Imperm this, but I decide there's another extender, it doesn't do anything. And the way my hand currently is right now, I only have the Bonfire to play with. So I'm pretty sure my goal is to like Imperm the Fenrir. That way the Bonfire can play fine into the, what's it called, the seals. And I'm going to hold the Ash for the seals then. So that's kind of my play. Hopefully cut them off engines. He adds the field spell here, which Ogre actually beats. I will Ogre that, however, because that was the other thing. If he goes for this instead of Kaiman, then I'm going to use the Ogre, which is something I'd much rather use. And he shifters, so I don't get to use Ogre anymore. I can't Imperm anymore, but it's not the end of the world. Like, I can always wait for next turn. And the thing is, because he's shiftering now, when it gets back to his turn again, then I can Ogre the field spell. So the Ogre is not going to be dead. I'm not too stressed about it. I will see another rotation. The only chance it's going to have of not being dead is if it leaves the grave and then another shifter can be used. He discards another shifter there, so okay, clearly had one. Summons Chandra and then makes Hermetic Seal, I believe. He thinks for a bit. Ironically, here under the shifter, what he probably should do is just leave his monsters up because it applies more pressure. I have very few ways of interacting with the shifter and Fenrir. Maybe I could have done something. Maybe I could have, but it's rough. That's a Droplet. Droplet is very anti-synergy with shifter as well, so it's not going to do much. However, I look through my extra deck and I can't do anything meaningful under the shifter, especially with the 2 interrupts there. I could try and push with Imperm, and I could probably force the seals, but I'm like, nah. Instead, I'm like, let's go to end phase. And I think I drew a second Ash return, actually. Not that I used the first one, but like that one ends up being okay. The game plan is simple. It's Ash the seals, Ogre the field spell, and then hopefully he has nothing left. But yeah, it's a fine plan. We're going for the long game, and we're trying to outvalue the Tenpai player here. Cut off their engine. That's the win condition that I see, and that's what I'm going for, so pass. Now, the other option I could do here with the seals is I can let the seals special summon Resolve, and then Imperm a Pydra he summons off it. However, if he makes the play of going for Chandra off it, then Imperm gets way worse. Or if he goes Mag effects. Mag, I still Imperm, but yeah, Mag for Chandra. Sorry, Hermetic for Chandra is a lot more scary. Imperm still does check that on the next turn, but it makes the Ash a lot more meaningless. And it means in a grind game, if I get like caught or something else again, I'm kind of screwed. I Ash the Radix Field, as I said, just to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm not certain if that's the correct play. I think the Imperm might have been better, but yeah. Goes Field Spell again, goes the effects, and I hit him with that Ogre. The other reason why I hold the Imperm is, maybe I didn't have Witch, because I remember thinking the Imperm as well. There was a chance I wanted to use on the Fenrir. I think I may have drawn Witch for turn, or I wanted to play around a trap, because I guess, yeah, actually, maybe I did have Witch, but I wanted to beat a trap, because I expected the Witch to get Droplet or Imperm. I think the game plan is Imperm the Fenrir, turn it off because I want my Witch to go through. I wanted to eat up the hand traps. I Bonfire first, actually. Right. Bonfire first is like one of the best ways to start because it eats up Disruption. It's a powerful extender. My idea for Witch here is if it gets Impermed, then it can kill the Fenrir. It can attack over it. So I discard the Flame Bridge. That was my last card. It was Flame Bridge. That's what it was. But he Droplet, so I actually can't attack over it. But here, I'm actually not that bad off because I have the Ash in hand. And for some reason, this is me being stupid and just being lazy, not doing life points. I forgot my opponent was at 4,000, so I overthink this way too much. But normal summon Ash here is this game because I get to Dark, steal the Shifter, and then I get to go for Selena Access Code, or I can go for Princess, Revive Flame Bridge. Either play works. No problems there. I go Flame Bridge because it's technically an interrupt, but obviously it doesn't actually matter. A Flame Bridge, push back the Fenrir. Funnily, if you have a way to get the Princess off the field here and you keep the Flame Bridge up, you can steal the Fenrir, but I can't do that while the Princess is up, and yeah. Just attack. Yeah. I go attack in the main phase 2, and he's like, I'm just dead. I'm like, oh, yeah, oops. Because, yeah, the idea was attack the main phase 2, make Whale, but cool. Judgment costed him there. You probably is supposed to Judgment Bonfire, because Judgment's really bad if the Bonfire resolves. Because if you Judgment the original, then I keep the body up for Poplar, which is super neg. So I don't think that's a mistake, but that's just a symbol of I win the grind game versus Tempai, because sometimes that's what you have to do. It stops becoming the classic stay alive game. It becomes a value game. Pivoting like that is important, and yeah, we are swiftly 2-0 again. So 2-0, 1 round left. Let's win local. Round 3, we've got a tough opponent. We've got the fresh off his top 16 Wysis Niagara, Milano the Duelist, good friend of mine, who is playing also the Fire King deck, something I didn't know ahead of time, but his deck is not budget. And we've got ourselves quite the final round, the final boss, if you will. That being said, we shuffle up, and I am ready to duel. I lose the roll, and thankfully, honestly, I lost the roll. Look at my hand, and I think it was double Ogre, double Talons, and Kieran. At this point, I'm like, damn, I just lose, because playing going second with a 3-card hand, essentially, because 2 of my cards are once per turn, really rough. Ogre is a little bit better, because I can Ogre this here, and then can Ogre aggressively on my turn for IP, and that's what happens. I Ogre the Deception. But while that is the best place of Ogre, I now have no kind of decision making left. It's draw and see what happens. He goes Island and then sacks off Original, which is pretty good. It means that is a pretty weak turn, as well as his grind game will be a little hindered. But my hand still sucks. I still lack any way to even play the game, so I can't get too ahead of myself just yet. Getting happy. Of course, he has the Garunix Engrave as well, so this isn't like a full lost cause here, because you can see here he's developed the field. He still has the Oak Special Summon, and he can go into pretty powerful plays, even if it's not as crazy powerful as it could be if he was uninterrupted. He sacks off, gets Flame Burge, and from here he gets to do some broken stuff. Now, if I was in this position, I think I'm making Sunlight Wolf. I'm probably going Sunlight Wolf into like IP, into Princess, Revive, and then Search Kieran. Standard stuff that we've been over. A Bonfire Mill 0 fires, which is nice, and a Wanted, which is crazy. As well as he gets the Veiler off the top of my deck, which would have been a terrible draw. Obviously, like, it's still random in my deck, but I take that. He Pawning sets at Sanctuary. Doesn't do anything because gone. Revives 2. Because he can't make the Sunlight Wolf anymore. Princess, Revive, Volcanics. Pop and Search. And I can't help but think this board could have been a little better if he didn't go for the Vampire, but yeah, that's just me being a little stickler. Sanctuary effect, set 1 pass. Sanctuary rank up still does actually help him. Yeah, it is kind of crazy. Here Milano makes the mistake of not turning Volcanics level 8 because he thought the level modulation was to end its turn. And then I asked him, like, did he use the effect? He's like, no, it goes to the end of turn. I'm like, no, it doesn't. I read the card. He's like, yes, it does. I read it again. I'm like, no, it's permanent. And yeah, so obviously a silly mistake, but it's not a big one. Because that matters because the Kieran, when it summons, would also be level 8 immediately. So even if I had a callback for Garunix, it wouldn't hinder him that much. I draw Sanctuary for turn though, which is great because this will force interaction points from him. So I use the effects, or I activate it and he goes summon Kieran, summon IP, and then I Ghost Stroke with the IP. Because he wants to SP the island here, which is great. And now I have a bit of a conundrum. Do I just use the island here or do I use Talents here? I think I use Island to try and just force out more disruption first, and then I can Talents later to see what happens. He shouldn't have real interaction points. He has the rank 8 left from this point. He has Princess and Grey, which will trigger the Arvada. I go Kieran effect instead of Garunix because I can save the Garunix pop this way, or the Garunix summon. And then what do? I go Garunix 1 and Kieran 2. Why did I do that again? Oh, to play on Impulse. That's why I was doing right, because I didn't know his last card in hand. I thought it could be Impulse. That's why I did it that way. Right. Okay. Sure, I think that's fine. If you want to save the revive for later, then you don't do this. I'm not sure if what I did is correct. I feel like I was powerful enough that this was okay. I'm actually feeling pretty comfortable in this position because now he just has the Arvada left. Yeah, no, actually I like my play. So yeah, he pops with Princess, and then I get to revive my Kieran, and then he gets the trigger Garunix out, and he gets to pop the Kieran again. He will full clear me here, but the game plan I'm going for is to steal the Princess with Talents, and then I can revive and make Hida, and then try to go Snake Eye cards. And then if he has an interaction for the Hida, I can crash, get Poplar, and still play that way. So he needs 2 interaction points there. So I go Talents, take control, steal the Princess, and use the effect, and he imperms, I think. Yeah, so I think this is actually misplay, and I went over with Milano. I haven't normal summoned yet. If my last card is literally a normal summonable card, like Ghost Ogre again. Like a normal Ghost Ogre, he says his last card is Valor, I think. Or he shows me. Let's see what it is. It was Impulse. Okay, so playing on Impulse didn't matter. But if I go normal summon a dude, make Hida, and then go effect target a Snake Eyes, and he goes Impulse, negate, destroy, I search Poplar and I still play. And I think for that reason, his play is a mistake. I think he should let Princess resolve. He should then imperm the Hida, and then if I go crash, add Poplar, I'm gonna Poplar add original, use original, then you impulse the original. He wins either way, because no normal summon there is gonna save me. The best I can do is then make SP or a Dark Charmer, but I can't like use another original, right? So like my plays get cut off as well as it's main phase 2. It's significantly worse. I'm still not sure if playing on the impulse was correct, because the way I did it, if he does use impulse, I lose, yes. But if he doesn't impulse, I just think like it would force him to make a read. If he makes the right read, I lose. Makes the wrong read, I still have a chance to win. Because I think the game state wasn't losing for me, and the not using Garunix would have been a risk. But that's the interesting part about Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like games are not simple. Even plays that look simple, and if you watch this replay, you may think nothing of it, but there are 1000% decisions going on here that are not too intuitive. Anyways, let's keep going. I think I just conceded at this point. Yeah, no, we just talked about the play. How I kind of went over how I think he was being a bit greedy with the princess. But I digress. Let's move on. So post side, I'm thinking, do I make him start or make him go first? So why is this even a question? You may think, why would I ever want to go second? Especially without Perulias and Fulas in my deck. Well, partially that's because those cards are in my opponent's decks, and you make 6 of their cards dead, as well as when you make someone go first and they aren't expecting it, they may have cited out some of their engine requirements that bolster their field when they go first. So say I'm playing versus a yugioh player, for example, they may cite out their Unchained Trap card. Playing a pure Snake Eye player, they almost certainly cite out their Angel Statue as a rune, the trap card to get off of Silhouette Rabbit. So even if they go for their full combo and interrupted, you draw 0 hand traps, the board should be weaker than in the natural state. Now, if you had a side deck, you could also side in cards that helped you going second. So you'd throw off their side plan, you'd make their end board weaker, and you still have all your going second tools. And at the time of filming this, I've already played the remote duel YCS from the side deck. And that will be its own video on its own, but I did go second almost every game post side there because of that strategy, and that's even without siding in Fu losses. Or my main deck does, without siding in more Perulias. I ultimately decide without Fulos or Perulia in my deck, and without a side deck, decide even like other cards, because there are budget cards you can play for the mirror match that are good. Droll's fantastic. A cool one that I talked about is Made to Order Mermaid Outfitter. This card is like randomly crazy in the mirror match, Fire King specifically, If you like banish their Garunix to add your own Garunix, that shit's nasty. Either way, like the card is fantastic going second. Now, if there's any other deck as well that I'm scared to go second against, it is Fire King because of its resiliency in both the grind game and breaking its field. So with all that said, I decided to just go first. I'm not fully sure if this is correct because for really the last few weeks I've been choosing second and I've been liking it. This is like the first time I did otherwise. Most of my other matches are 2-0s, truthfully, largely because I get to go second. That being said, let's go first. So immediately on the draw, I hit Purulia again. So it looks familiar, and I chain wanted to get out my Black Witch. Black Witch into Purulia is so rough, and this deck plays 6. I think I already had Ponix in hand as well. I start with the Witch, discarding second wanted, not really giving any info away in there in my hand, which is important. Set the original, and I think I want an original here to try and check for a hand trap because I already have the Ponix, because the Ponix resolving is most important. Here's original, and I hit with Fulos. This is what I talked about. Double goddamn Charmy. This is incredibly hard to play around. It's so bad. It's so rough. Ash resolves here as well. I was really hoping in a hand trap because I already have the Ponix. So I get Oak follow-up, but it sucks. I have to be careful, but I think I can go like Ponix, Garunix, send Arvada, revive Ponix, then go Princess, revive Arvada. And that gives him, from that point, I think he already has 6 in hand. So he'd be drawing to 9 in hand start of the turn into his subpar field, which is not great. I draw into a hand trap, I'm pretty sure I did have hand traps. So I wasn't like completely over from this position, but it's rough. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is ass. And you may say, wow, I got sacked, but like if your opponent's on 40 cards, there's like a 15% chance of this happening. And that's also kind of fake because that's assuming both are in the opening hand. If you drew that Fulos off of the first Roth Witch, it didn't even account for that. And ironic that if this is the game I lose, I lost because I lost to the rich player. So it would confirm some of y'all's sneaking suspicion that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is in fact pay to win. Not that I'm trying to support that theory. Obviously, those cards are broken and you should play them if you can. You can win without them. I'm just not helping my case here. But I'll argue I beat the Tenpai player. He had Purulias and bosses. So yeah, Princess Arvada has to just be enough. I set one and pass, and yeah, draws into 9 in hand. Now, my ideal hope here for me winning is for him to have redundant cards in his hand. So I need to be patient and make him reveal as much info as possible. Overextend, getting confidence, because so happens while people have too many cards, they missequence things. Assume it's a free win. So don't try and choke them by hitting the first cards. That's not going to work. Wait till later. You hit them in awkward spots that force them to think differently and adapt. And then if they screw up that ability, then they can still lose. Like here, he uses Volcanix uses the effect, and he remarks, "Wow, I didn't expect that to go through." And in my head, yeah, you have 8 in hand. I negate this, it makes the job easy for you because now you don't have to play around anything. So my goal here is to maintain the disruption as long as possible, because again, this is referencing the concept I called Schrodinger's trap. Threatening disruptions forces your opponent to play in a less greedy way, utilizing in essence less value out of their cards. And when they're doing that, bigger chance that you can maximize your own value and get back into a game, especially in a game where you're behind. That's what I'm gonna have to do. He'll reveal another card in his hand and give me some info. He pops Arvada here, which is fantastic. That's like not okay. Well, it's not a good thing because that card is still good in his grave, but it's not a meaningful disruption. He adds Kira and then triggers Ponix. I think I want to stop this. You can original it out if I stop this. So I'm like, no, I'm keep going. Also, between drawing like 5 cards, you could have also just drawn Island already or Sanctuary. He had Sanctuary, and still true, we still could have drawn Island. So again, I'm going to employ the concept of just holding on for my dear life to my disruptions. I hope that I catch a blunder, or that I can throw off his game plan enough that he keeps me alive. Goes Hida here. And this one gets awkward now because he can Hida steal the Garunix. So that's rough. But he goes Hida target Ash instead. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. Now, the next part that gets tricky is he sends both for Ash effect. And this comes from Flame Merge. No, where Flame Merge is a problem is Flame Merge can put the Garunix in the small trapguard zone. If he puts my Garunix in the small trapguard zone, game is kind of just over. I lose all my ability to float, and I become incredibly easy to kill. I also lose a large amount of my disruptions. I debated about Arvada here, but try to keep him off of Flame Merge access. Because if I do that, then the only thing I have to stop afterwards is Oak to accomplish that. While that is easier said than done, the idea here is pretty simple. The alternative is put Milano on making a mistake and not targeting the Garunix with Flame Merge, or negate the Flame Merge if he does so. But the thing with negating the Flame Merge is if I do that, then he can just use the Graveyard Effect of Flame Verge and revive and get 2 bodies. And I feel like at that point, it becomes incredibly easy to go for other OTK lines without committing it more in hand. So I have Vaudeo here. And this puts the Princess in grave as well. I can then stop a further push. So yeah, I put the Princess in grave now, and I am back to chilling. Now from here, my opponent goes Deception. Milano goes Deception here, and tributes. And this is going to be a common recurrence. I use Ghost Ogre again. He tributes Ash, putting in grave, and you can see obviously it wouldn't have been hard for him to put level 1 in grave for Flame Verge. Or the Deception. So like other spots to Ogre would have been Charmer, so I could have Ogred this Hida as well instead of the Flame Verge. But I figured there was a good chance he either had Wanted, had Witch, or had Deception between those draws. And considering that's an entire push on like its own, I wanted to hold Ogre to check for that. This match really shows where Ogre can be good. So yeah, he's thinking how to play from here, and he links into SP. Now, I think I trade this interaction poorly. So my face sounds Imperm. Imperm is the worst one here because it does play into backward removal. You want stuff that's in the hand because the hand is safe. Arcane can't interact with the hand that well without committing bodies into Arvada or into Photon Lord. If you're ever siding out cards against this deck, Arcane going first and you have other cards to put in, then you probably take out the Imperms because they are kind of weak, as well as they play into Kieran pretty badly. Now, I could just let this get banished, and I probably should. I think in my head, I wanted to get rid of the SP with Princess, because what it does, it makes it hard for him to bridge into his own Princess. And he's running out of extenders, right? He's used Normal Summon, he's used Poplar, he's used Ponix. So at this point, he only has the Island play left and Kieran. But I should probably just let him banish my face down and link away the SP, because then he can't attack directly, and I can pivot my entire game plan into playing for follow-up, which is better. As well as if he's SPing the back row. This wouldn't change anyways, but that means he can't SP something else like Garunix, which is my grind game. I don't like my play here. I think I'm supposed to let it go through. I think this is a bad play. So yeah, I go Princess, and then he chains, I Imperm, which is predictable. Haha, got his ass, but no, I think this was a waste. I wanted to get my value off Imperm, but I think low-key it sucks. I think about using Arvada here, and I have Kieran on hand, which is why I'm comfortable doing this, because I'm not going to use the Garunix yet. I'm still going to hold on to it. I just Ponix here. Here he goes Wanted, which, yeah, so it should be likely that when your opponent has 9 cards in hand, as he did, he'll have every access of his engine. So unless you're truly cutting off your lines of play, it doesn't matter. Hitting Witch doesn't matter. Hitting Deception does. Hitting Volcanics doesn't matter. Hitting the Island does. Stuff like that. Because Volcanics is just a way to get into the actual power cards, not the power cards itself. So Oak is another way of threatening Flame Verge. Ideally, I have a way to stop that. If I had Ash here, that would have been fantastic. I think that's where it would have come down. It would have been the lifesaver. One's Flame Verge, and this can threaten Garunix now, which has been like problem all along. I kind of have to make a play, so I go Kieran effect here. I think I make a mistake here as well. I pop. It doesn't matter what I pop. I don't know why I thought about this even. I trigger the Garunix to revive, and then Garunix again to revive, and then I can pop the Flame Verge. I think I'm probably dead either way if Milano plays this properly, but I save my rank 8 play thinking that it's not too important, but it plays into Phoenix if he does that. I mean, I just chained to Phoenix, though, was the thing. Oh, and he go Island, right? No, I knew he had Island. That's the problem. So yeah, when he summons out Flame Verge, I know he can just go Island pop the Sanctuary. I have no recourse for this. So I should have just made the rank 8 to nuke the field on the summon of these. That way, all he would have is the Island plus Kieran, which would still get him really far, but he's already used Hida at least, and he's already used Flame Verge and a lot of his cards. That being said, Milano didn't know that he can still attack after I Imperm SP directly and doesn't kill me. That is sometimes a win condition, is hoping your opponent makes a mistake like that and not knowing a ruling. Not that you should try and mislead your opponent, that's 100% not allowed. If I rank up there, pop everything, and then Milano then tries to like just clear my field and then pass with like a couple interrupts, then I win. Because I think he makes a bigger field than I can deal with here. And it's largely in part because I timed my interaction here badly. Goes to show. He's still lots to learn. And I knew that was there, so not really an excuse for playing in this fashion. He shouldn't use Garunix here, it does nothing. Because Animus, Steel Arvada, it makes no difference to me, so whatever. It gets it off the field, but ideally he's clearing my field anyways. Phoenix pop, lose everything. And I'm dead on field, but he doesn't realize, so I hold out, and he goes for Disruption instead. He draws a card, and what does he do? He makes Whale and passes. I draw. What did I draw? I don't remember. I got Ponix back. He brings up SP in the draw phase, and I mean this is still hard to beat, truthfully. Like I don't know how I'm supposed to beat this because there's still the Whale, the Arvada, the Kieran pop. Like it's a lot. I try and play target the Ash to get into, because I haven't used Poplar yet, right? I can like Poplar. He negates with Arvada, gets the revive. The revive doesn't matter too much. Ironically messes up his arrows a little bit because he could have got the co-linked SP. Use Bonfire to set up a Poplar, and then Poplar can get original. So banishes the Oak, so I can't sack off for Flameburge because I think I saw that in the deck. And I add here. At this point, he still has Princess. If I go for Anima, and he Princesses, and then goes pop the back row, I just lose. I'm pretty sure, because he knows my entire hand. I don't know if I have a winning line here, to be honest, guys. Kill Island. There's too many floaters. What did I do? I think I identify him sounding out Kieran as his win condition, so go for Anima here, and then I place. And if he goes pop, then I go original send Ponix. Original send Poplar, get Ponix. Original, I'll send the Arvada, need it engrave. Any impulses me, and I'm like, all right, well, I was probably dead anyways, but the impulse is the nail in the coffin. It's almost like he knew we were being budget, and he wanted to show the power of the expensive cards, and just he already showed Puria and Fulos. Let me show you what impulse does too. I do think I'll lose this game either way. I don't think it matters. So I had the one to draw. That's what it was. And then I need this to bail me out. I think Talents is the single only card that helps me here. And I didn't draw it, so I lose. Talents, what would Talents have done for me? I go Talents. I still have Hida left, so I can go steal Flameburge. Flameburge target the Princess Engrave. Yeah, I win if I draw Talents, but there was still hope. And that's why you play in a certain way. That was the kind of win condition I identified, was to bait the interrupts and then Talents steal Flameburge. Playing to your win condition is important, and that was how I win the game. So that's what went through as I kind of constructed my turn before I started playing. I'm like, okay, force this interaction, and then my only way to win, draw Talents off wanted. Yes, that requires me to sack him, but that is how you have to play the game sometimes. Play to your outs. Very common saying amongst professional card players because, well, it's true. But that does mean we lose 2-0 to Milano, and we don't win the tournament. Unfortunately. Still got some prizing, got some packs of Bonanza, which were cool, but not able to win with the budget Fire King deck. I know I really wanted to show you guys a win, and really X1 in 3 rounds is not impressive. But the wins I had were brutal. And despite how my luck kind of seemed against me against Milano, I held my own pretty well. So I think to at least some degrees that should show you the validity of this deck. The final match may have showed you the power of money, but it's not like you can't fight it. There were still ways for me to win. There were still ways for me to skill my way through that, or luck my way through that. So don't give up all hope yet. My fellow Fire King enthusiasts, even if you don't have the money for the expensive cards, we can still pop all of our opponent's cards in harmony. That's all for locals for now, guys. If you enjoy these videos, then please let me know in the comments down below. I'd be happy to do more of them. Going to locals can be kind of fun, and showing off different decks. But I know some of the other ones I'm looking forward to, like Dragon Rulers, Sharks, Infernoids, have been kind of a pain in the ass to find the cards for. I promise I will get them to you guys though. So with that being said, I will see you guys all next time. Have a good one. Peace.